and as you can see, another special guest. We're joined by Kareth Burke, who covers the Golden State Warriors. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy International Women's Day.
Likewise, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's get right to it. You guys are always at the top of sports news when you follow the NBA. The latest splash that you made was bringing back a very familiar face in Andrew Bogut. How has he been received?
Great. The players are talking about how much of a great teammate he was. They remember his defense. They remember that he played with the core guys, Steph and Clay and Draymond, when the Warriors were rebuilding things, when they won their first championship, when they had that 73-9 season. They recall that he was tough. They recall that he plays defense, and he's coming to join this team as an insurance policy for the playoff push.
So, Kareth, this is when insurance policy, or is there a little bit of side-eye going on out there with DeMarcus Cousins? I mean, I'm asking the question because you look on the internet and people are trying to figure out. We've seen kind of Boogie some of the games where he's not necessarily finishing. They change. He may go small. I mean, Kerr may go small. So do you think there will be any type of chemistry issues that may occur with this?
I don't know. And to that question, I understand why you're asking, but Boogie is the top dog around here. He is the starter. He is making strides. The Warriors are giving him that runway to get better after he missed a year with that Achilles injury. So he is over the hump conditioning-wise, and he is finishing better. He's doing more things laterally that he couldn't when he first started back in January. They're seeing the improvement. They're seeing those, some 20 and 10 games from him. He is putting it together. Now, okay, it is curious to add another center to the roster, but it's an insurance policy. Steve Kerr is assuring everybody. And Bogut said the same thing. He said, I might join this team and just wave a towel for the first 18 games, and that's okay with me. So nobody's talking about anybody stealing minutes or anything like that. It's a collective effort to be teammates. Now, there's one more thing. Bogut said that there were some conflicts with Boogie when they were on the court, so he expects to come in, kind of smooth those over. There were some near scuffles, maybe some bad blood, but it's all water under the bridge when you're teammates, right?
Love that.
Love it.
No, I love that little drama. I like that you brought that out.
Yes.
And my question is, when you say insurance policy, obviously they're adding, another player to this already deep roster, but why Andrew Bogut? I understand because he played there. There was all type of names that was floating out from buyout players. What did they see in Andrew Bogut? Not because of the past, but what has he done lately to say this is the guy we think, if he's an insurance poly, that can help us win another championship?
Well, Steve, I think they look at what he was doing in Australia. He was just the MVP of the National Basketball League there, so he is in shape. He's been playing high-level basketball. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of a curve coming back to the NBA, but he's in a great position. So when you see a need at center, when you see a guy who's familiar with this system, when you see a guy who's played with some of the existing players, this felt like a win-win situation, and Bogut says he knows his place. He's excited to join in, and I think he can contribute when it comes to matchups. If they need some extra minutes, if they need a little bit more toughness, if people are going to pick on Boogie maybe in the pick and roll, maybe just having Bogut can do a few extra things matchup-wise.
Kareth, one of the things I've been interested in is what we've seen throughout the season with this Warriors team. At times there's been, I wouldn't say disinterest, but it seems that for big games, usually when you're playing a team that's top in the East, top in the West, you actually get up for those games. And they've lost a few of those games by big margins. What are you hearing around there from Steve Kerr, from the players, to understand why they haven't been able to get up for those games that you normally will call some key matchups throughout the season?
The coaches are trying to find that answer, and the players are too, because we just saw an example, right? It's when the Warriors lost at Oracle to 33 points to the Celtics, right? This was a game they should have been up for. They were talking about the respect for the Celtics, that this is a tough opponent, and we've seen some other perplexing moments at home for the Warriors where, say, they lost to Toronto, who was playing without Kawhi Leonard. They lost to Houston, who was playing without James Harden. They lost that marquee game at Christmas to the Lakers by 26 points and that was a game where LeBron James left. So the Warriors have to put this together at home. They just had that conversation this week, that sort of gut check moment of, guys, we talked about this at the beginning of the season, how special these games at Oracle are because it's the last season at Oracle. You know, they want to honor the greatness of what this arena is and get back to that identity of it's really hard to beat the Warriors at home. They want to kind of solve what's going on here with the remaining 9 games left in this arena.
Kara, Stephanie again here. You mentioned their identity, how they have been so hard to beat, especially at home. Well, Klay Thompson missed the last 2 games right in the midst of a stretch where they weren't playing their best basketball. He's expected to play tonight. Are there going to be any minute restrictions, and how do you think that he'll get acclimated back into the swing of things?
No, as far as I know, no minutes restrictions. And, you know, Klay is a competitor. It eats him up when he can't play. And I think when he was watching that Celtics game, he was a little bothered by what he was seeing out there because Klay is the guy who is tasked with guarding the opponent's best player. He's an excellent two-way player. I think he's eager to get back into things tonight against Denver. This is a huge game, considering Denver is chasing the Warriors in the standings, just 1 game separating them. So everyone will be up for this one. Klay as well. He is definitely an Iron Man for this team.
Excellent. And of course, we cannot talk about the Golden State Warriors without talking about Stephen Curry, and not basketball, actually. I want to talk about his shoes. You know the story. Little Riley wrote the letter to Stephen, and he got her the shoes, and actually she helped him design a gorgeous pair. Have you seen them?
I have. They're purple, and I saw the smile on her face. It was adorable.
I love that. We're showing them right now to our viewers at home so they can get a good look at them. Riley Morrison has really inspired a lot of people around the country because she took the initiative to write a letter to Stephen Curry asking why the shoes were not available in the girls section of the website that they are sold on. And I love Stephen Curry's reaction. You get to work with him. You're around him all the time. Is that normal? People at home think, oh, maybe this is a one-off, it's for publicity, but I think we know better than that, right?
No, it really is for real. First, I was impressed that he answered her in the first place, and it wasn't just, oh, I'm sorry. He put those words into action. He said, I'll make this right. And that means a lot to him. He wrote about how he has daughters. He wrote about the world that he wants for them, and he's really serious about equality and building the interest in women's basketball. One of the things I covered this summer with Steph was his first annual basketball camp for girls, how invested he was in that. It's really nice to see him be one of the allies.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kareth. We appreciate you joining us. Have a good show tonight.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and by that I mean Steve and Swin. We talked a lot about Golden State. Well, they're playing a really good team in the Denver Nuggets. A really, really good team. Lately, though, they have not been their best. So I'm interested. What do you think is going to happen with this clash of the Titans tonight?
Well, one, I want to see a good game. And I think when you look at the Golden State Warriors, what I see from teams previous, when they would win, they never missed a beat. And obviously, the starters was fantastic. They were the all-stars. But that second unit would come in and sometimes extend leads, taking nothing away from that second unit. I know Iguodala's been out. I know Sean Livingston's been out. I haven't seen that firepower come off the bench like they had in the past. That's just the one area. If we have to nitpick about the Golden State Warriors and those guys saying, hey, we can turn it on when we want to turn it on, those are the 2 areas I look at the Golden State Warriors to kind of shore up going into this final run in the regular season into the playoffs. And
the best way I think you do that, Smitty, is by turning up your defense. Because for them, once they're solid defensively, when you don't have that second unit coming in or providing the points that you're used to or that firepower, like you said, then defensively you have to be sound. And they've lost these games large margins because they haven't defended. And then on the top of that, if you don't shoot well, extra possessions, the rebounding has to be there. They have to compete on the backboard. And a lot of that, sometimes we see that Draymond is out there on the wing. He's getting into those dribble handoffs. But they have to attack the glass. And Boogie Cousins rebounds a different type of way than, let's say, a Bogut or JaVale McGee. They have to gang rebound, I think, and get some more of the guards, those longer rebounds. I think that'll help them out, Smitty.
The question with the Denver Nuggets is, can you trust them to make a playoff run? We're not certain if they can play at this high level, right? They're only a game back, but Swin, they're 16-15 on the road. You have to win road games if you're going to win a championship. What can Jokic do to help his team find their rhythm on the road?
The one thing they have to do is just stay together. I don't think it's only on Jokic. I think obviously he's an all-star, so you want him to be consistent, Smitty. But for me, I think back, people always say they're too young. They're the top of the West right now. You know, they're up there with Golden State. They're trying to get that number one. But think about this for a minute. My team in Detroit, we won our first championship. Our average age was 24. We didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
But we came out every single night and we played so hard that we played through our mistakes. You can actually do that. Now, can they do it in a 7-game series consistently in order to win a championship? I'm not sure. But I can tell you one thing, their energy level, what I've seen this year, at times their execution, they've come out of timeouts and run some heck of plays to get a shot open. To get an open shot. Those are things I look at and say, okay, they're preparing themselves for that run.
Yeah, and I look at them as they've had a lot of injuries, knick-knack injuries. Yeah. And what makes me look and say in a positive way for the Denver Nuggets, Paul Millsap has been out. Gary Harris has been out. And I still look there.
Will Barton was out.
Isaiah Thomas, Will Barton. And they're still one game behind the Golden State Warriors. If they can stay healthy, and I think Paul Millsap is the guy that can take some, pressure off Jokic. I know what Gary Harris and Murray's going to do. Right. I think Paul Millsap is the one guy because he has experience and the game to be versatile enough to lead them down the stretch. Because a lot of times we look at Jokic, there's so much put on him, and he's passing, he's scoring. But I think Paul Millsap is the guy swing. I can say, offense is not going well. Please take us home. About 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth
I agree
quarter.
with you on that. Yep.
They need that presence, right? All right, we're going to take a quick break.